this is Editing KJ with a quick note that this episode was recorded before the WGA strike and the SAG-AFTRA strikes were resolved, and in some cases possibly before the strikes began. We're super happy to be back, so please enjoy this episode. My name is KJ, and you're listening to the Supernatural Opinions podcast, where some things in this world are supernatural. My pronouns are she, they, and this is the podcast where I talk to my fellow Supernatural fans about Supernatural, and we share our Supernatural opinions. Today I'm being joined by my guests, Meredith and Nick. Meredith, please remind people who you are.
I'm Meredith. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a little sad because the cat just abandoned me.
Toby, come back.
Come back. Come back.
Just staring at me from over by the door like a jerk.
And Nick, people probably know who you are as well by now, but just in case, it's a new season, people don't know who you are, please tell people who you are.
I'm Nick. I'm a big Supernatural fan, as you know, and I'm go by he, him, and I'm very tired of getting back from Chicago last night.
Yeah. It's been a weekend. Honestly, it's gonna be like months before this episode makes it through Editing KJ's pile of edits.
Oh yeah,
so,
just a little bit. Yeah.
Chicago Con 2023 will be long in the past, but it's been a weekend. We're gonna talk about it. Maybe
being up for 24 hours is not very fun,
No, I get sick when I do that. So I'm glad you had a good time. That would not be worth it to me, and I would not be here now. So I'm glad you're able to join us.
It was worth it for the autos.
This week we're recapping season 4, episode 3, In the Beginning, which originally aired on October 2nd, 2008. That title's a reference to the Bible. The book of Genesis starts with In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. This episode is really the beginning of the Winchester story. It's not November 2nd, 1983 when Mary died. There are origins that predate that by quite a bit, as we're going to find out in this episode. So I think it's a very fitting title.
I like it.
This week's episode will contain spoilers for this episode, may reference previous episodes, but it will not contain spoilers for later episodes of Supernatural. What it might contain several spoilers for is the Winchesters, and also this is an episode that we covered on Wayward Parents back before season 1 of the Winchesters aired. R.I.P. the Winchesters. Again, this weekend will be long in the past by the time this episode comes out, but literally yesterday was the day that Jensen told us
fresh, yeah?
that he wasn't able to find a new home for the Winchesters, so the Winchesters has sadly passed away.
Oh, that sucks. I'm sad for you guys.
That wound is very fresh. I haven't talked about it yet. I haven't made a TikTok or a tweet or anything about it yet.
I had a feeling when Drake posted something, but I was like, once they posted it yesterday, I was like,
yeah, Jensen got the official statements. It was sounding like it was gonna go that way.
One of those things like, why does it sound like a goodbye? Because it is.
Yeah, obviously, that is the direction the CW's decided to take. So they had, it's just bad timing. It's bad timing with the writer strike. It's hard to show around during a writer strike. Jensen did his best.
I mean, luckily, Supernatural was able to survive, but it's harder for the up-and-coming shows to...
And I think that Jensen's statement was, it was sad, it was disappointing, but I think overwhelmingly, it didn't sound like he had really given up on it forever.
Yeah.
It very much felt like this is goodbye for now.
I feel like even if it is, and the Winchesters, something else will come up, so... Yeah,
it does feel like... I mean, this is the third time that there's been a Supernatural spinoff. It's the first time we've had a season of a Supernatural spinoff. So I feel like, just doing that in itself... and having that be successful, the door's open, and it's so clear that the cast, not just the main 3 of the cast, but the cast as a whole, are supporting recurring characters, have all been so supportive of the Winchesters and like interested in coming back in future projects, whether that is future seasons of the Winchesters or something else. So that's nice. There are doors open, there are options open, there's interest in it from the cast, there's interest in it from fans.
I mean, one quick thing I'll say about this from yesterday to Chicago, like you can tell that Meg, Drake, and JoJo, they really love it. The fans really love it, and they're really Drake said he was taken back by how much support, like they just had so much love for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been a part of so many campaigns to save shows from networks, especially recently. But this one was so nice. This one I feel like was the most I've ever seen a cast involved, and
Sure.
like former cast, like Supernatural cast that hadn't made it into the Winchesters. Like everybody was really campaigning, which is really great since the writers and like Robbie and that they aren't allowed to with the writer's strike. They weren't allowed to help with that
Sure.
shopping around. It was very wholesome. It was nice to see the fandom rally a little bit.
Yeah, it's always nice to see people united for like a common cause and seeing them support art so much.
Yeah.
Well said.
I guess we're pinning all of our hopes on Gotham Knights since it's the last like it's so crazy. Like 2022, we went into the end of 2022, the fall
We had so
2022
much, yeah.
calendar, and Jensen, Jared, and Misha all had shows going on to the CW,
And now
going
we
into
only
the
have,
fall and spring lineup, and
now we only have maybe Gotham Knights and maybe
Gotham Knights and the OG Walker are the only two left out of the 4 shows that the 3 of them had. Walker Independence and the Winchesters both axed. So I watched Gotham Knights literally yesterday for the first time. I watched all the episodes that are out so
It's so
far
good,
in
yeah.
one day. It was
It's so
incredible.
good, yeah.
And honestly, I think the young cast on that show are also great. But yeah, we need to stop talking about the Winchesters and talk about Supernatural.
No, let's keep going.
No, it's just that wind is so fresh.
I know.
I haven't made a TikTok or a tweet or anything about it yet because I don't know what I want to say.
In other news, I watched the new Spider-Verse movie last night, and Karan Sony from Bridgewater was actually one of the Spider-Men.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I recognized him immediately. I was like, I know that voice.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm so happy he's in it. I didn't know he was in it.
It's amazing. I didn't know he was in it either until I was in the theater.
Nice.
But anyway, if you want to hear me talk about this episode with August and Beth and Elena, we did cover this episode on Wayward Parents. That was the whole point I started that conversation with. I don't know.
We got a tangent, so
I don't know if I actually said that part. So in case I didn't, that is out and available. We recorded that for the Winchesters even start airing. We had no idea what to expect. I think only the trailer had come out at that point.
Yeah, only the trailer at that point, because
We had no idea what to expect. This episode was written by Jeremy Carver and directed by Steve Boyum. So far, this season is an exact mirror to the end of the previous season when it comes to writing. So Jeremy Carver was last year on the third last episode of season 3, which was 314 Long Distance Call. We've also gone in literal showrunner order so far this season with Kripke, Campbell, Carver. So like literally it went 314 Jeremy, 315 Sarah, 316 Eric, and then episode 1 Eric, episode 2 Sarah, episode 3 Jeremy. Like I don't know what they're doing, but like it's so obvious that this is the core of the writing team, and like Campbell and Carver both go on to be showrunners.
So what's come?
Stuff is getting tight this season. Like this season, shit's coming together. Steve Boyum was last year on season 3, episode 10, Dream a Little Dream of Me. This is exactly the type of episode that Steve Boyum directs. There's something a little wacky going on so far. So his other episode, other than 310, was Crossroad Blues with all the Robert Johnson flashbacks. Like this is his jam.
I love these flashbacks episodes, though.
His next 2 episodes, or his next 3 episodes, are also kind of like with that like 2 timelines or like stuff happening. So yeah, this is a great team, I think.
Agreed.
Episode rating, Meredith, let's start with you.
I don't know, it's a pretty significant episode. And there were 1 or 2 things I would have changed, but overall I think it was pretty good. So I'll give it an 8, maybe.
8. Okay.
7.5 to 8. I'm not sure.
Nick, how about you? What do you think this episode is?
You know, I was gonna say 10 out of 10, but there's a couple things. Yeah, I would think so. Probably 9 out of 10. Yeah.
9 out of 10? Solid.
I mean, I like the episode. There's a couple things I was kind of like, but other than that, it was
as a whole, as a viewing experience, I very much enjoyed this episode. But I did give it an 8 out of 10. Both the points offer for the same thing.
right.
And that's Eric's insistence at keeping the Mary Samuel yellow-eyed demon kiss, even though the network came back and was like, are you really going to have Mary kiss the corpse of her dead dad?
Right.
And Eric was like, absolutely yes. We cannot get rid of it.
That's why I didn't want to give it a 10 out of 10. It's like, that's kind of like, why? It didn't need to be in there, yeah?
Necrophilia and incest.
There was, so the pages were written, and then they were reviewed and edited. And Then there was a table read, and then there was filming, and then there was editing.
They had so many chances
came back with a note and was like, "Are you sure about this kiss?" And Eric was like, "Absolutely, it must happen."
I am so sure.
Opportunity not to do it, and they did it. So 2 points off for that. 8 out of 10.
Right. They had so many chances to not do it.
It's in the DVD commentary. If you listen to the DVD commentary for this episode, they're literally like, the network told us, "What are you doing?" And we were like, "This is what we're doing."
Like, are you sure? Are you sure you should be proud of that?
We're Supernatural. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah, you can't. There are rules.
There are rules.
There are rules for a reason, yeah?
Apparently.
Certain rules are there for a reason.
Total death count this week, we saw 2 deaths, bringing our on-screen total to 272. And just John's death count is a death.
I don't know.
Did we already discuss, like, is it a death if they come back? Because I think we still saw the death.
I think.
So technically, yes, then, right?
I think it counts. He was fully dead. Mary had to make a demon deal to bring him back. That's dead.
Right.
That's pretty dead. Yeah.
3 deaths.
Because it was like when Dean died in, end of season 3. I mean, end of season 3.
Or Sam's death in season 2.
Right, and then he came back the next episode, yeah.
Yeah, even if they come back, like the trauma is still there.
The
effects
happens.
are still there.
We have kind of said like time is a factor, but I'm gonna call this dead. Like if Mary hadn't made that deal, he would have stayed dead. Like this was not a like dead and then back like instantaneous thing, like barely dead situation. This was dead, like neck broken, dead.
It wasn't like he snapped his finger, he's back. So
yeah,
it wasn't even like the time loop situation.
No, and like it wasn't even like you can like do CPR and bring him back. Like his neck was broken.
Yeah, there's no bringing him back when the neck's broke. Yeah.
Yeah, that is dead. Okay, anyway, adjusting quickly on the fly. We saw 3 deaths, bringing our on-screen total to 273, and the on and off-screen total of this episode was then 4. So the on and off-screen total is now 1,908 plus.
We're climbing.
Yes, we are climbing. Angelic deaths. This week, the Heavenly House lost no angels that we're aware of.
Nice.
Good for them. This is the first week. We've only had angels for 3 weeks, but this is 1 out of 3. They haven't lost anybody.
I'm sure no angels die a whole season, yeah.
It's just the one angel who's losing all the sanity he had.
I mean, Cass is here. He is here.
He's here. He's queer. He's losing all of his sanity.
He's also lost all of his ability to communicate. Not that he's shown a great ability to communicate thus far. Communication has proven to be a barrier so far, but like he's really not helping himself.
So you already didn't have that much ability, but it's just gone straight for the tubes.
To get into the recap, this is a very Sam light episode, so it was a little shocking to me on rewatch that the very first person we see, besides Dean, who's like asleep in the bathroom, is Sam. Sam's here. He's bailing on Dean in the middle of the night to meet up with Ruby. He's got an even less inconspicuous car than Baby. She's driving a yellow or perhaps orange muscle car with like the black stripes on the hood. I'm like pretty sure it's a 1970 Mustang.
Always love it when girls drive muscle cars.
I also think it's such a great addition to the episode because I think the Impala was almost a Mustang in the early days of Supernatural. And then Eric Kripke had a neighbor who was like, no, make it an Impala. And Eric was like, yeah, that's more badass.
Wasn't trunk space also a factor?
Trunk space was a factor.
Yeah, I think so too.
You can throw a body in there, but like I think the thing that makes the Impala look more like maybe not more badass, but like a different type of badass than the Mustang is like it has very sharp edges. It's very boxy compared to a Mustang, and not in like a bad way, in like a don't mess with me kind of way, like sharp kind of way. Also, I just think Jen looks so good in the front of this Mustang. Like, I don't know. You put a pretty girl in a cool car.
Put her behind the wheel of the cool car.
Yeah. And, not much can be improved upon. She looks good. The car looks good. It's really a perfect match. Sam's hair also looks really good. It's actually a shame he's not in this episode more because his hair and makeup team did a really good job on this day. Like his hair was just really good this day, and he's just not in this episode to reap the benefits of that at all. Dean's having a hell dream, and he wakes up, and Cass is not just in the motel room, but sitting on the bed, waiting for Dean to wake up. Like they're sharing a bed, and he just goes, "Hello, Dean, and what were you dreaming about?" Which is a question.
Not creepy at all.
The way he asks it implies he definitely knows what Dean was dreaming about, and also very heavily implies that he knows that Dean's been lying to Bobby and Sam about the hell torture that he claims he doesn't know anything about. I don't know. Something about the emphasis on the word you implies that, like, this is a very singular to Dean experience. Like, I know some people associate this with, like, Cass being, like, implying that Dean's having a sex dream, even though we just saw he's having a whole dream. But, like, I genuinely think Cass is very aware of exactly what Dean was dreaming about.
Also, I don't know, just the weird energy of this scene makes me think of my siblings more than anything else. Like, this is something they would do.
Cass also doesn't get up as he continues to have the conversation. Like, he stays on the bed the whole time. It's such an invasion of personal space. Like, the last time we saw Cass, he was appearing in Bobby's kitchen, like, 10 feet away from Dean. Like, Dean was laying on the living room floor, and Cass appears in the next room over. Like, Dean was asleep, and Cass appeared on the bed.
He probably, like, read a book about communication and heard, like, okay, you got to be in their space. That way they'll pay attention.
You got to be
Something
intimate.
I think is really interesting, though. He's sitting on the bed, so he's physically close to Dean, but his back is almost to Dean. He's turning to look at Dean. So they are communicating, like, directly to each other. But the way he's sitting on the bed, his body is facing away from Dean. And I don't know if that's because he's lying to Dean and he doesn't know how to do that very well, or if he just doesn't know social conventions, or a combination of those two things.
He stopped reading he stopped reading the book before they got to eye contact.
It's weird that he wouldn't just be sitting farther down, like, towards the feet, so he could, like, angle his body up the bed towards Dean, but he's not.
It's like, come on, you gotta keep up on the education, yeah?
Yeah. When I say lying to Dean, I also don't really mean lying, because Cass doesn't say enough to really tell a lie. He says, you have to stop it. And before Dean can ask any questions, he puts his fingers on Dean's forehead, like when he knocked out Bobby in Lazarus Rising. And Dean wakes up again on a park bench. It's not even a park bench, it's just a bench. It's a street bench. Back in the day when benches were able to be laid on, they didn't have anti-homelessness architecture built into every single bench.
What a paradise.
Yeah, you could sleep on a bench in a pinch. Dean's also got his dad's leather jacket, like, on him. He's not wearing it, it's just on him, which I thought was a very great touch from Cass, because Dean was also using it as a blanket in the motel room, even though he was laying on top of a bed, and you can very clearly see Dean's laying on top of the blankets. He wasn't wearing the jacket, so I'm just glad Cass sent him the jacket so he didn't get cold. Good looking out for your human.
A very thoughtful angel, yeah.
Dean walks into a diner, and this scene is right out of Back to the Future, which I think it's well documented in the Pod Squad universe, and possibly also this particular podcast. I'm a big fan of Back to the Future.
I think I remember they mentioned, like, Back to the Future like 4 times in this
episode. Oh, it's mentioned frequently.
It's mentioned in my notes.
There's extensive Back to the Future references, and I probably missed one, honestly. But Dean walks in, he sits down next to a guy who turns out to be John Winchester. A very different John Winchester than we know. This is Matt Cohen, who I think gives a really great performance in this episode.
Oh, yes.
A limited performance. He's not here a ton, but Jerry Rogers has permanently stolen my heart as the favorite John, but I think Matt does a really great job.
I love the man.
He does a few great performances in Hillywood parodies, too.
Yes. Delightful.
Yes, he does.
Dean's got a major headache at the reveal that his bench is in Lawrence. And I learned, according to IMDb, that not only was the Star Trek reference about Dean's flip phone, like, to be like, oh my gosh, isn't it funny, like, flip phones don't work, but also the people who invented flip phones actually intentionally made flip phones look like the communicators in Star Trek, I guess, so people would know how to use them. They're like, the TV people made it look this way. What if we made the phone look that way? And if that's a true fact, then I love that. Star Trek is largely responsible for modern fan fiction as we know it, and the rest of modern fan fiction as we know it is the supernatural fandom. So,
so influential.
We love it.
We've done so much for the world.
Dean says that Sonny and Cher broke up, which confuses John and Reg, the guy that's working at the counter at the diner, and Dean takes his first sip of coffee, and that one sip of caffeine is the thing that makes Dean finally able to look around and realize that he's in 1973.
Oh, actually, that's really relatable. I mean, I don't drink caffeine, but, like, if that's something you do, then...
Yeah.
I had a thought. Hold on.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just completely unaware of his surroundings, and then that first sip of caffeine hits, and he's like, "Wait, this people's clothes and that newspaper.
This doesn't look right, yeah.
Things are weird."
Like, they look like they could wear bell bottoms, unironically.
The confusion about the Sonny and Cher thing, it just all hits all at once. A guy comes in to confirm to us that's John Winchester, and also for the Back to the Future reference of calling the dad by his last name and then them both looking up.
I love that.
John's apparently got a dad who seems like he maybe lives in Lawrence, Kansas, and that's going to be contradicted later in Supernatural. Don't worry too much about it. We can all choose to believe that this is a stepdad and that Millie Winchester is living her very best life, because I'm a Millie Winchester stan.
Exactly.
I'm going to believe that, actually.
Millie Winchester, especially as she's like portrayed in the Winchesters, reminds me of my mom. So I'm a big fan of her. So I want good things for her.
We stand Millie Winchester.
Yeah, and the supernatural canon about John's dad holds, then like it's very possible that John's dad is just not his bio dad, and like that Mary has a longtime partner. That is very possible.
The plot thickens.
John leaves, and neither John or Dean feel really good about I think the situation of them meeting. But Dean's completely weirded out, and John doesn't know anything about anything, so he just leaves. He's like, "This is weird. I'm gonna go." But Dean decides to follow him, where he runs, like almost actually runs into Cass, who says, "Time is fluid, Dean. It's not easy, but we can bend it on occasion." And then he leaves before Dean can extract any real information about what he's supposed to be doing.
Very.
Because, Cass is being very helpful this week.
Very.
What John is doing is he's buying a car. And by a car, I mean a 1964 Volkswagen bus in the shade of beige. It's in good shape. It looks great.
Can you imagine an alternate universe where Sam and Dean were driving that around?
I mean, is it like much less badass than the Impala? 100%.
It would definitely give them more of a Scooby-Doo vibe, which I really appreciate.
It is big Scooby-Doo vibes. It needs a coat of paint to not be beige.
No, I'm sure Dean would paint it like black or red or something.
I wouldn't want it for a whole season, but it'd be funny just for one episode to have them drive that car around because they need to.
And like the Impala is iconic, and I get like the whole concept of the Impala is like for later, for when they are two brothers on the road in their dad's old car, like hunting monsters. But in this moment, all I can think about is like there are two children whose entire lives have to fit into a car. John should have bought the van.
Like he could have bought the Impala
adult
later,
Sam and Dean Impala, absolutely. Young Sam and Dean who are like living in the car in motels all the time, buy them the fucking van. Imagine how much better their living situation would be if they went from like cramming into the seats versus like, oh, we have a van.
Also, if you have a van, you can keep like 3 different monsters back there.
Right.
Instead of just one in the trunk.
Van living has become very popular now in the 2020s. Like if John could have converted that van, a lot of those vans came already, like you could buy VW camper vans and like live into them. This is the same thing I said with Kubrick and his RV. Like I get it's not the most badass thing to drive, but you're not driving it to be badass. You're driving it to move your children around the country.
That just implies like a level of forethought regarding his kids that I don't think John Winchester is capable of.
Even the whole thing where he was supposed to go buy a van because he promised Mary he was going to buy a van, seemingly because they were planning on getting married and having a family. I mean, a lot of people wait, they get married, and then once the family planning is in progress, then they give up the muscle car for a van or a more child-friendly vehicle.
But I guess they never did that.
I just want to see the conversation between Mary and John when they get back after the cameras turn off. Yeah,
she is very confused by the Impala when he does bring it to the house. I'd also like to just say, as far as family vehicles go, I know things were very different in the 70s, but also like I just feel like I need to remind everyone that the Impala does not have seatbelts.
No, it does not.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
It's possible that seatbelts are added later, like when Sam and Dean are driving, but like this version of the Impala does not have seatbelts.
So they'd have to go add it themselves.
John would have had to add aftermarket seatbelts to it.
Welcome to the 60s.
Because its seatbelts weren't standard in 1967. Anyway, Dean is like leaning on the hood of the Impala and like talks John into buying it. I don't like thinking about it. I think the idea of like Dean talking his dad into buying their family car just gives me a headache. I don't really like this detail. I get that it's a fun thing to include, but I would have preferred if they hadn't.
Yeah, that's one of the recurring issues of time travel. It can get confusing.
Yeah, I think it would have been better if John had just been like drawn to the Impala on his own. But it's fine. It's fine.
It's one of those things, if you think about it too much, it becomes a problem,
Yeah. Dean says this thing is still going to be badass when it's 40, which of course would be 2007, more or less the present timeline that Dean's from. Dean makes a car sale, convinces John to buy the Impala, but also freaks John out asking about cattle mutilations, which, of course, John's freaked out by that.
But he still buys the car.
Yeah.
It's just like, listen, he's a nut, but he had a really good taste in cars.
John is a mechanic in this part of the timeline, so he can see what Dean is saying about how great this car is. Like he sees the engine. He knows what what Dean's saying is true.
He's like, I know this guy's a nut, but I'm gonna take his word for the car,
Yeah. Also, like when you meet a guy who's so hungover he doesn't remember what year it is or what town he's in, I feel like if that guy tells you should just like be a little bit more fun, you're like, no, it's not gonna be as fun as that guy, but like maybe it could be a little bit more fun.
That guy doesn't sound like he's having a lot of fun. Also,
John's like 18 to 20 at this point, like.
Because I think in 1972 he was like what, 18 or?
He was born in 54, so he's probably like 19.
Oh, just a baby.
And he's just got back from the war, and like I feel like he can stand to be a little bit more fun.
Live a little. Take advantage of that while you still can.
Dean then steals a car. It's even more beige than the van that John almost bought. Why every car was beige, I don't know. But he follows John to Mary's, and then he continues to follow them on a date, and he speaks out loud to Sam, like, wherever you are, mom's a babe, I'm going to hell again, which is outrageous. Outrageous. Not to be an alarmist, but first of all, Jeremy, is your mother okay? Are you okay, Jeremy Carl?
Right.
You think your mom is beautiful. I look at pictures of like when my mom was in her early 20s, like about my age, and like I wish I looked like that now. She looks great. Right. She's gorgeous. For that thought to somehow escalate into I'm going to hell for thinking about it territory is a level of sexualization that is simply not okay. I'm talking another half point. I'm going down to 7.5 out of 10.
Oh my gosh.
We're ruining what is otherwise a very good episode. There's no reason for that. It's not even that funny of a joke. It's not worth the joke.
I feel like a lot of people have looked at pictures of their parents or grandparents and been like, okay, this is veering into some dangerous territory.
To go to I'm going to hell, it means like you're picturing like something specific. An act. And I'm not even willing to entertain that anymore.
I mean, it is kind of consistent with Back to the Future.
That is true. It is. But, Marty McFly was very insistent that he did not reciprocate any advances from his teenage mother.
Definitely. And I'm pretty sure Dean wouldn't have either.
Yeah, the fact that Dean even was like, there's just something. There's just, I don't like it.
Like, he had a thought, but he immediately knew that it was a wrong thought, and I seriously doubt he would have acted on it if given the opportunity.
Oh, I agree.
Probably.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I agree. Luckily, Mary's not at all interested.
Oh, yeah. Mary's off in John land.
Probably. I mean, Dean's like 10 years older than either of them. Like, he's not really in the dating pool age. Like, Mary's like 18 years old. As well.
Yes. So it would have been creepy in like two different ways.
Let's see. Dean's supposed to be 30 at the moment, more or less.
It should be like a 10, 12-year difference, though.
At this point. Dean's either 29 or 30, and Mary is 18 or 19. So yeah, she's not even thinking about him at all, which I think is helpful.
It is helpful because like a lot of girls are into older guys without realizing why they shouldn't be. Yeah.
Also, Mary just seems very satisfied with her relationship.
Yeah.
But right after that thought that Dean has, John's like talking to Mary about their future, and he's very concerned because Mary's family does not approve of their relationship. And he's like, I'm a mechanic from a family of mechanics. And we're going to learn that Samuel Campbell's issue with John isn't exactly his occupation, but it's also definitely like not his occupation. that is causing the problem. Mary excused herself to the bathroom, but she doesn't go to the bathroom. She goes outside and beats the shit out of Dean. And she's wearing a charm bracelet. It has the anti-possession symbol. It also has the Aquarian star, which is the Men of Letters symbol on it, which is interesting. File that away for later. Also, she has this shirt with it's a white shirt with like red flowers on it. It's a button-up shirt. It's very reminiscent of some of Sam's shirts, which is a very cute touch, I think. Also, Mary wears it much better than Sam. Sam's shirts are horrible.
Tell us how you really feel.
Go ahead, KJ.
Sam looks best when he dresses like Dean. I'm sorry. I know Sam's supposed to have his own like sense of style. Sam's own sense of style was best when he wore like the purple dog t-shirt. When his thing was like graphic t-shirt. When his thing became like button-ups with like horrible patterns and like they're all like varying shades of like green and brown. That's when they got bad. Sam
enough.
Can't be trusted to dress himself for a nice occasion unless he's pretending to be the FBI. It is what
and then we're very happy that he's pretending to be the FBI.
John drops Mary back at home where Dean's already waiting for her and he really wants to meet her parents. Samuel is real grumpy, but Tiana, Mary's mom, invites Dean for dinner. Dean knows so little about his mom and her family that he didn't even know that they were named after her parents. Like, John clearly knows Samuel and Deanna. He just does not talk about Mary at all outside of the context of like his marriage or like their mission to avenge her. Like, that is all they know about Mary.
That she was perfect.
She was perfect and she was taken from us and we have to get her back. Like, Dean doesn't even know her parents' names. Like, one family tree project in middle school should have solved this reveal from even happening.
John did not help in that category.
Not at all. Something also about the Campbells having a permanent residence in Lawrence, like a house with their name on the mailbox, makes me just furious with John. These people are from generations of hunting, and they have a mailbox with their last name just out on the street for anyone to see. Next time we have a flashback episode like this, we find out that the Campbell, like Mary and John are in the phone book. Like, this whole like John with the fake names and dragging the children from place to place and like raising them to be juvenile delinquents just did not need to happen.
Oh yeah, he wasn't just taking them away from their family. He was, I don't know, deliberately hiding like any real trace of their mom from them. Like he put her on a pedestal.
But it's also like the stability.
Well, yeah.
John could have taken them to any other town in America and set up a house there and not moved them from town to town to town. He just didn't. Like, Samuel and Deanna are doing it with their daughter. Like,
anything but Lawrence.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be in Lawrence. It's just like the idea of them having a place and like Mary's clearly being raised to hunt. Like, there's nothing stopping John from at least giving them a home that they return to consistently, that the kids live at and go to school and stuff. Like,
not place to place.
Yeah, this whole thing where like John's just moving them all the time is so unhealthy.
I think the more we learn about like other hunters, the more we realize just how different Sam and Dean's childhood
Daniel Elkins. Daniel Elkins is in this episode, and he still lives in the same spot that he lives in season 1, like 30 years later.
Oh yeah, I just feel like, as I said, like the more we learn about other hunters and how they live, the more we realize that John was actually insane and different from a lot of other hunters.
Yeah, there are definitely hunters who live on the road. Obviously, Kubrick, who has the RV, lives on the road.
Gordon has an RV!
Yeah, Gordon seemed to also be like an on-the-road kind of guy, as far as we knew.
All they have is like Impala.
Yeah. There are a few other hunters we meet who seem like, they just travel around. Ellen and Joe don't seem to have a home base since the...
They got the
I mean, we haven't heard from Ellen and Joe since the end of season 2, but they don't see, like, since the roadhouse burned down, they just seemed to think their plan was to travel and hunt demons.
Yeah, but like all those hunters have one thing in common: they don't have young children.
Yeah, they're not dragging children around doing this. Deanna is like completely amused by the mere idea of John being the target of anything supernatural. He is the most normal guy to ever exist.
Oh, also, have we met Samuel at this point?
Yes.
Yes,
Please
Samuel.
talk to me about Mitch Pileggi.
Oh, yes. He was one of the main characters of the X-Files. He was assistant director of the FBI, Skinner. He was very cool. We doubted his loyalties a lot, but yeah, he was a great character.
Amazing.
X-Files, yep.
Love it.
Mitch is also a good singer. I don't know if that's common knowledge or not. He sang
At New Jersey, right?
At New Jersey, at Saturday Night Special, and just in his panel as well.
He did pretty good. I liked him, so
yeah, he sounded great. I just thought that was so charming. I actually find I am not a fan of Samuel Campbell at all. I do not like him. But Mitch Pileggi's panel at NJCon actually like endeared me to him so much. He just seems like a very nice, chill guy.
Right, I've seen him in like X-Files bloopers, and he always had a lot of fun jokes.
Yeah, he just seems like a very nice guy to be around.
Down to earth guy.
I very much dislike his whole character in this, but he seems like a good guy. I didn't know much about him before NJCon, to be very honest, because I don't like Samuel, which is the main thing I know him from. I know him from a few other things as well. I'd like to think of just one at the moment.
He was also on an episode of Criminal Minds. I can't remember the season, but he was the serial killer.
Walker?
He's in what?
He's in Walker.
He's a Walker.
I didn't know. I didn't even know he's a Walker. He's been in 56 episodes of Walker.
Yeah, he's Cordell's dad. So
he's the
Cordell Walker. That's Sam. Which Jared? It's his dad. So
his dad. Okay.
Yeah. I'm very
impressed.
I watched Walker, so I like the way he played the guy in Walker.
I had no idea he was even in that.
Do you watch Walker, KJ?
No, I don't.
I do.
Oh, okay. For a second, I was just like, wait, how didn't you recognize him if you watch the show? But you don't watch the show, so I forgive it.
He was in Sons of Anarchy, and he was really good actually. Now that I'm being reminded that he was in that, he was also in Grey's Anatomy for 9 episodes. He was a recurring character in Grey's Anatomy. I want to say he was like a lawyer or something. Yeah, he's been in some stuff.
He's traveled a lot.
He has been all over the place.
But here in Supernatural, we don't like him.
He has 106 IMDb credits. Like he's really been in a lot of things.
Nice.
I always mix him and what's that guy? Hang on. It's gonna come to me. He's in Veronica Mars season 4.
Can't help you there. He was on an episode of Batman Beyond. Cool. I like that show.
J.K. Simmons. I don't know why I always mix up
J.K.
Simmons. And
maybe it's because they're both bald and they have deep voices.
Bald. I think it might also be the voices as well. I think it might just be the baldness.
I love J.K. Simmons.
Like white men, and they're both good actors. Like they're both great.
Oh yeah. In my head, J.K. Simmons will always be like J. Jonah Jameson from Spider-Man.
Valid. When I look at both of them together, I know which one is which. But like if I see one of them in something, I'm always like, wait, which one is that? Anyway, back to my notes.
Anyway, yeah, we're here for the rest of this episode. The recording has been like surprisingly chaotic so far.
Just a bit.
Just a little. Samuel's been working a job where a guy was run over by a combine, even though all his crops are dead. So there was no reason for him to be anywhere near a combine, which, oh my God, that so sucks for that guy. Like all his crops are dead. That's like financial devastation. Like that guy's livelihood he's not doing good. Yeah? He's not doing well. Like that is the most devastating thing that can happen really as a farmer. Like
aside from being run over by a combine.
Yeah, I mean the next bad thing that could happen, the only worst thing that could happen is you have some sort of farming accident and you die.
It's like a combine. That's very thorough as far as death goes.
Yeah, when you're like, okay, you're a farmer, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like the top 2 things are farming accident that causes death or injury, or
crops being dead. Yeah,
crop failure, like unexplained crop failure. Because you're just kind of financially ruined at that point.
I can't laugh at this poor man.
I mean, you can't. It turns out he's an abusive asshole. So.
Oh well, that just settles it.
Yeah, we later learn that he's an alcoholic and he's abusive to his wife and child. So not to say he got what was coming, but let's just say these misfortunes did not befall him by chance.
Maybe we should just say it probably wasn't something supernatural that got him.
It was one of the people coming back to get him. Yeah,
it's probably
Alexa?
just his wife.
Alexa play Karma by Taylor Swift.
Oh.
Okay, yeah. So Samuel and Gianna are telling Gene about this case. Something I really like about this episode is that Samuel and Gianna appear to be like working this case as partners. They're both sharing facts of the case equally with Gene. So they do appear to be working on this together. Like Gianna's not like a stay-at-home mom the way that like Mary goes on to be a stay-at-home mom.
I forget what was Diana? What was she doing?
We don't don't really have any details. We don't actually see her doing much besides cooking in this in this episode. But like she has the details and the facts of the case. Like she's aware of what is happening with this case as though it is also her case. Leads me to believe that she is also a hunter. How they pay for the house with their mailbox with their name on it, unclear.
I love it on like TV and just in fiction in general when they like combine the stereotypical like grandmotherly homemaker with something else like a hunter. It's just makes me so happy. It's so fun.
It's very fun. I was also taken aback in this episode by how young Deanna is. Maybe it's because Mitch Pileggi is like genuinely in his like late 60s, I think mid 60s at this point. He's like 70 something right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was like middle-aged when he did the X-Files.
He is currently 71.
And this would be like what, 11 years ago? So
this was like, so he would have been like 60.
Yeah.
Late 50s, early 60s. And like Deanna is very much not.
Yeah, Deanna looks more like she's in her 40s at least. So
yeah, Deanna is, I would say, like maybe late 30s, maybe.
Like late 30s, maybe.
Early. I mean, Mary's only supposed to be 18, so if they got married and had Mary like right away when she was like also pretty young, then like she might be 40, maybe.
Like late 30s or early 40s at the earliest, too.
Yeah. Anyway, she looks very young, especially compared to Samuel.
I mean, it's kind of like the Winchesters. We still don't know much about Deanna. Like we know she might probably 100, but we don't really know what.
Oh yeah, like in the show, the Winchesters. Yeah, we had a very extensive theory that she was gonna end up being like evil or something because she was not in. She was like, not present.
Even in Supernatural, they don't really tell you exactly what she does. So
yeah, I mean, this is our only episode of Supernatural, so this is all we got.
I'd like the evil did it.
All other details are up to fanfic writers to determine.
I mean, so they tell us differently. Evil Deanna, it could be true,
yeah, exactly. Anything could be the truth. But hunting in the 70s was way harder. They have to order weather graphs by mail. They take days, if not weeks, to arrive. I'm sure you have to think up some excuse to have them sent to you as well. Like everything's hard. They don't have cell phones. They don't have the internet. Mary and Samuel are gonna go talk to the family of the dead guy. Mary very clearly does not want to be there. She's dating a civilian. By dating John, it's very clear she wants out of this life. Also, Samuel's dressed like a priest. I think Mitch looks great in this priest outfit. I think he looks great.
It's like him and Dean, right?
I think it's unfair how fashionable priest outfits are.
I agree.
Like them and nuns. Like what is the issue? Like they look so good.
And you're not supposed to look good. It's the opposite of what the outfit is supposed to do.
Right? Like
you're supposed to be conservative, not like looking attractive, yeah?
Just the angles, the silhouette, the black and white, it just looks really good.
It's a very sharp look. Not to be like, we have this every time I talk about like the Winchesters in a single t-shirt with the arm thing. With like the single t-shirt to arm transition. I think that's exactly what the priest outfit does to the neckline. I think it just draws attention to the neck, and for some reason that's sexy.
Oh, okay. Anyway, no.
Moving on.
Yeah, no, I would wear that outfit if there weren't issues with that.
Yeah, it's like appropriation to wear it and like misrepresentation.
Like, I'm not part of a church that wears those outfits, so it would just be And
if you are part of a church that does, you shouldn't, unless that's your like. It's a uniform. It goes with the job.
Exactly.
I think it fits into that uniform thing. I think that's also why it looks good.
Ooh, there we go.
Like the thing where people like have crushes on like firefighters and cops and it's the uniform, it's the outfit, it's the working. Aside from like the many times that the Catholic Church has like covered up horrors, I think there's also just something about like a priest that you like inherently trust them.
Oh yeah. I will always say the Catholic Church itself, like as an institution, is pretty shady, but their aesthetic does not need to be changed.
But yeah, like there's something about like someone wearing that uniform, that person's supposed to be there to help you and they're supposed to be there to listen and offer you guidance. Like anyway, but he goes to the door and Mary gets to talk to the dead guy's kid. But Samuel gets to the door and Dean's already in there, also priested up. This widow has nothing more to offer Samuel because Dean's already done all the chatting and there's basically nothing.
I just love the interaction because like Samuel is like, "What are you doing here, Father?"
He just make a point to be like, "This is our senior priest." Just very shady.
Like, I'm gonna trust these guys, yeah.
And also, like, as good as Mitch looks in the outfit, obviously Jensen looks good in everything as a baseline. Like, to start with, Jensen is so attractive.
Yes.
That, you know, the outfit really is just icing on the cake, and it's good icing.
Oh, gosh.
Yes,
Sam's not here, so I am free to love Dean to my heart's content. Like, there is no competition this week because Sam's just not here to draw my attention.
Fair enough. I appreciate that Samuel doesn't just, like, Samuel goes along with it.
I mean, he's got to do what he's got to do. It's about the case at this point.
Right? Like, he doesn't blow Dean's cover, because if he blows Dean's cover, then he probably will blow his own.
Yeah, and, you know, Dean makes it very clear that the wife had nothing to say anyway, so there's no point in upsetting this poor woman whose husband just died. But Mary has gone to talk to the son, and Dean goes and joins them. And Charlie made a demon deal to get rid of his abusive alcoholic father.
Nice.
And the demon said he'd come to call in about 10 years, and maybe he'd want something from Charlie then. And he had yellow eyes, because it's our buddy Azazel.
I'm getting Bella vibes from this.
Yeah, it is the exact same thing as the Bella demon deal, where they don't really tell them what the exact terms of the agreement are.
Like, you're preying on someone who is desperate to get out of a really bad situation, and you don't give them all the details.
Yeah.
Someone young who is desperate to get out of a situation.
Like, someone desperate enough. Yeah.
Yeah, someone young who's unable to remove themselves from this situation. Like, like it can be very hard and very scary. And like leaving an abusive situation is oftentimes more dangerous than being in the abusive situation to begin with.
Well, when you're a child, like you often can't even do that much.
Yeah,
like if you're an adult, like
you don't have a choice to leave. You go wherever your parent is going. So if your parent can't leave that situation, you are stuck in that situation.
Exactly. Like you have to be removed by someone else if you're a child.
Yeah. Or in the world of Supernatural, you have to wait for a demon to come along and get you out.
I mean, it's pretty similar like what happened
shitty way to go.
Yeah.
You know, when her deal with the crossroad demon.
Yeah, it does. I mean, not to be Team Dean on the whole angel thing, but Dean's got a point. This is now twice we've seen demons killing twice in a 4-episode span, basically. That we've heard of a demon saving a child from an abusive parental situation. Not an angel in sight. Dean's complaints about the angels are seeming very valid at the moment, honestly. We aren't seeing a lot of angels interfering on behalf of the children. The demons are gonna get a soul and turn that soul into a demon, and that's pretty awful. But like,
I seriously doubt the demons are doing this out of the goodness of their hearts.
It is not out of the goodness of their hearts, but
no, definitely. You know, like you're getting the kid out of the situation, but you're using that situation as a way to take advantage of them.
Yeah, but we've still removed 2 children from abusive situations
and condemned them in a decade.
Yeah, I mean, at least Charlie doesn't seem like he's gonna go like right to hell. It does seem like he has some sort of not quite usual demon deal. So that's what that is. More on that in a bit. Deanna is then chopping fruit, and it's very clear she's stressed by how stressed Dean and Samuel are, just based on how she's chopping, because we don't even see her face. The only shot is of her back and her hands, but the way she's chopping, I'm like, she's stressed.
She knows her way around that knife.
We're stress chopping.
She's chopping bananas also, which is a weird fruit to put in a fruit salad, in my opinion, but okay.
It was the 70s, okay? They were putting Jell-O and everything.
That's true. There is it does not appear to be Jell-O, so. Also, I'm very confused about what time of day it is that we're having this fruit salad, but it's okay. It doesn't matter. Dean's really shook, but he has come up with a pretty decent plan fairly quickly. He's gonna go find Daniel Elkins, borrow the Colt, kill the demon, save his family. Honestly, not a horrible plan as far as plans go.
Pretty solid to me.
Like, part of the reason that John was so stalled, I mean, not to praise or excuse John. Like, John, clearly it took him 20 years to find this thing, but like part of the whole thing was that he couldn't find the demon, and he couldn't find the Colt. Dean knows where the Colt is, and he knows where the demon's gonna be. That's all the things you need to know right there. So many obstacles that are removed just by knowing those 2 things. Samuel has heard of the Colt, but he doesn't believe it's real. He's like told Mary about it as like a bedtime story. And he also wants to know like how Dean knows where to find the yellow-eyed demon. But John has a list of anyone he thought might have come in contact with the yellow-eyed demon, like far back, including the farm combine incident and also an incident that's coming up the next night. He's supposed to meet someone named Liddy Walsh tomorrow night in like the next town over. Samuel and Deanna listen to Dean explain all of this, like psychic like, my dad was a psychic, and that's how I know where the demons can be. And then we're out. We tangentially didn't really trust you, but like, we're not going along with this plan.
Right.
You're on your own. So
See you later.
Dean's gonna leave. Yeah. And he stops to say goodbye to Mary, who's listening to records in the living room. And she's listening. The top of her stack of records is top 16 hits from Cornet Studios Orchestra and Vocalists, which doesn't feel like a very Mary choice given what we know about Mary's taste in music up till now, but it's nice to have variety.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I consider myself to like a variety of music, and I also like both Led Zeppelin and orchestra music, so I guess we have that in common.
Oh yes, people are many different things.
Yeah, and music is many different things. Dean takes a moment to give John a little stamp of approval, and Mary's just so giddy about it. Like, it's incredibly obvious here that A, she's barely more than a kid. Like, this is a teenager. B, she's in love. And C, no one has been supportive of this relationship ever. Like, she's just so thrilled to hear someone say that, like, they think that she and John are gonna make it, and they have a good feeling about her relationship. Like, it's very clear no one said that to her ever.
Oh, Mary.
Mary confides that she thinks John's going to propose, and she's going to be willing to run away. If her family doesn't approve of the marriage, she doesn't care. She wants out of the hunting life. She hates hunting. She wants to be safe and have a family, and the worst thing she can think of is her children being raised as hunters. Dean gets really emotional about that, and I just think Sam should be here to hear from a parent that they do not want this life for him. And I just also think, like, this is one more time that Dean has an experience with their parents before they experience the tragedy of Mary dying that Sam will never have. Like, Sam has no, like, Dean was 4, but he at least had 4 years. They were young 4 years. He probably doesn't remember well, if at all, but like,
it's mostly from what John told him, so.
But like, he still had that experience. Like, Sam doesn't have that either, and now Dean's having this other experience with his parents, knowing them when they're like relatively happy, and Sam's still not here.
You know, another thing this episode does is it gives us more of Mary's voice, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like, we've mostly just gotten John's perspective, and we never really know anything about what Mary wanted for her kids and how she felt about anything. And this episode is giving us that.
Yeah, and before this episode, we had no idea that Mary even knew anything about hunting or monsters. We thought that this was a somewhat random thing that happened.
We just figured it was a random kill.
Sam's a victim of circumstance and Mary dies, but it's not. Aside from the little bit in the season 2 finale where Mary sees Azazel and says "you" right before she starts to go up to the ceiling, and Sam goes, she knew you. And we never got an answer about that until now.
Like, we knew a little bit, but not.
Yeah, we had no idea that Mary knew about hunting. We had no idea she had an opinion about how the kids be raised.
Well, of the many things that John has taken from them, he also took their mother as a person away from them.
Yeah.
She was just a concept. He didn't really seem to tell them any stories about who she was.
Yeah.
Or he didn't tell her she likes to play basketball or.
And it seems like John probably doesn't know about this side of Mary either to share it. But there's got to be other sides of Mary that, like, they just do not know anything about. Like, they just don't know anything about her.
Like, up to this point, does she share? How much does she share with them too? We don't know.
Yeah.
Does she keep hunting in private, or does she tell them everything?
It seems like John knows nothing. Is the general, so like
nothing to very little. Yeah.
I would say nothing.
Nothing,
based on the John's journal, which I know is not like completely canon, and based on the next flashback, I would say John knows nothing. Right up until Mary dies. I genuinely do believe that in this version of the supernatural story, the Winchesters, like, until John sees Mary die and goes to Missouri, he doesn't know anything. But I think that's honestly more tragic, because then it's not so much that John chose something that was explicitly against Mary's wishes, something that they talked about. It's that John was faced with this situation. He thought he knew what Mary would want / decided what Mary would want, and we now know that he chose entirely wrong. Like, his choice that he made on her behalf is absolutely contrary to her wishes, and he just didn't know, and mostly he just didn't care.
Up to this point, I forget, because it's been a while since I watched it. Does she ever say, like, I forget, does she ever say to him, like, what she wanted of him, or?
No, I don't think so. I mean, she's like 20. He doesn't seem to know anything about monsters, and she dies when she's 29. Because
I don't think she had a journal, did she?
No, not that we know of, not that we're aware of. And and like she's 29 years old. Like I'm sure as a hunter she probably thought a lot about dying, but once she quit hunting, I just don't think she was planning on, I mean, no one plans on dying in their late 20s, but like I really genuinely feel like if I was Mary Winchester and I went from like my life constantly being in danger to living like a suburban stay-at-home mom life with my husband and my 2 kids, yeah, I probably wouldn't be that concerned about having a conversation about what to do if we die. Also, like, I just don't think Mary could have ever anticipated that John would become a hunter, even if he did see something supernatural. I just don't think that thought ever crossed her mind. Like, Deanna laughed at the mere thought of anything supernatural happening around John, let alone to
so she
John.
probably didn't think about it either. Then she'd be like, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I just don't think either of them could have possibly.
I guess, I don't know, it makes me think that like they weren't really aware of how a huge trauma could affect him, which makes sense because like how do you become aware of that?
I think what Mary says in this exchange is actually such a good indication of maybe why she didn't think that, because Mary says, like, Dean asks what John's like, you know, he's like, tell me about John, like, I think that you guys are a great couple, but like, tell me about him. And Mary's like, John's sweet and he's kind, and even after the war he still believes in happy endings, and like that's rare and it's everything hunters aren't. And like, I just don't think she thought that John had it in him. Like, even though John's this vet, he's seen horrible things, like Vietnam vets came back with horrible PTSD. I just don't think she thought that I think she just thought if that didn't damage him this way,
nothing will then. Nothing will then. Nothing
will, let alone like, and I mean, how could she have anticipated the manner of her death and the like front row seat John would have to it? It's really horrible what happens to her. And John's there watching it happen. It's awful. Dean makes Mary promise that on November 2nd, 1983, she won't go to bed, and she promises to remember. Obviously, she doesn't. Nothing can change that, as we later learn. Dean then drives to Daniel Elkins, and on the way there, Cass shows up and says that Dean needed to do this alone, but he promises Sam doesn't know that Dean's gone. He's not, like, looking for Dean, and not to worry, basically. Focus on the task at hand. Don't worry about Sam. Cass does not seem like a Sam fan at all at this point. I'm really glad that that's going to change eventually, but
all right, Sam is lovable.
They haven't technically met yet, so I guess like all Cass knows about Sam is like whatever's in the Dean Winchester angel file, and it might not be the most favorable outlook on Sam.
Sam, of course, is an abomination.
Oh man, that quote's like a whole season away, but it cannot come soon enough. That's episode 99 of the show.
What episode is this?
I don't know, but that's like season 5, episode 17, I think.
Wow.
Something like that.
This is 403, so it's like a while away. Cass calls us back to season 2, episode 20, What Is and What Should Never Be, by reminding Dean that if he prevents his mom from dying, then John won't become a hunter, they won't become hunters, all the people they've saved will die, and that really mattered 2 seasons ago, and Dean does still care, but not enough to let his parents die again if he can help it. If he can stop his parents from dying, he's gonna do it. Like, consequences be damned. He no longer cares about how close he is to Sam. He no longer cares about if John's alive or dead, like whatever. If he can save his mom, he's doing it.
Well, also, that reality was created by a djinn.
Yeah.
It could, if this one's like real, it could be different. It could be something else.
Yeah, and like theoretically, there's going to be some other child that either one of 2 things can happen. Either another person is going to save the day, or one of the other special children is going to become the leader of the army from hell, open the devil's gate, and the whole world's going to end anyways. So they might as well be happy in the meantime.
YOLO.
20 extra years with Mary, like, and like a better dad, like a better John out of the deal as well. Like, if Mary doesn't die, then John's less of a monster. Even if he does still like sort of suck, he would suck less. Like, and they would have their mom. Like, it's a hard deal to give up. I don't blame Dean at all.
Yeah, lots of dads sort of suck, but that's fine.
But Dean robs Daniel Elkins, and it's probably for the best that John and Daniel had a major falling out before Dean started really growing up and looking like that guy that once robbed Daniel Elkins.
Probably.
I would just love to imagine how that would have gone.
I wonder how you'd react. Like, wait, are you sure you're his dad? Because he looks an awful lot like this dude I once saw.
Guy, didn't say your ex-wife's last name was Campbell, and he says that the gun's gonna be with the Campbells. Didn't you say that Lauren's gonna like the story's gonna start like really unraveling very quickly? But luckily John sucked, and everybody eventually hates him. So Daniel and John don't speak for many, many years.
I wonder if Daniel ever thought of that night. And
I'm sure he probably did, because Dean promises Elkins that the gun will be in Lawrence, Kansas with the Campbell family. And Elkins is like, yeah, I'll take the gun, I guess. Samuel Campbell proves to be as astute a parent as John. And Mary hears that there's going to be, like, the demon is going to target Liddy Walsh, and that's her friend that she goes to school with. And she suddenly wants to hunt, and Samuel is like, she doesn't want to hunt, now she wants to hunt. Is this like a period, like menstruation thing? And just fails to understand why Mary would want to go hunting to save a personal friend, even though she hates hunting.
Like hunting is life, so why?
Deanna's face. Deanna doesn't even dignify that horrible comment with a response. She just like,
no, it's all about the motivation, you misogynist.
She does that thing where she gives him a look and he goes, what is that look? Like, he's
what
like,
are you trying to tell me?
I forgot. I always forget, like, August doesn't like Samuel, and it's like Samuel's a misogynist. I'm always like, oh, like, isn't that bad? Like, he and his wife are hunting partners, and then I get the scene. I'm like, oh, I forgot about this. This is
you
the
remember
root.
instantly.
This is the root of the problem.
He's a very common sort of misogynist, where he thinks women can do things, but he doesn't quite understand why they do things.
Yeah. So, and like also like things like women change their mind because they're like too hormonal and like, ugh, so gross. I hate him. Anyway, Liddy is making her deal when Samuel and Mary get there, and Azazel takes an immediate liking to Mary, which is a bad thing.
Yeah.
The demon is posing as Dr. Brown, which is another Back to the Future reference, which is very funny.
It's very funny.
Dean shows up with the cold, so Azazel smokes out. And Dean decides that he's just going to tell Samuel and Deanna the truth about who he is and where he's from in order to get help saving Mary. Samuel, before he does that, when they first come out of the Walsh's house, and Mary is really freaked out that the demon liked her, and Dean's kind of like yelling at her / asking her questions. Like, he's asking her questions, but his voice is raised because he's scared, and she's very clearly scared by what just happened, and that this demon took a liking to her. Samuel comes out and compliments Dean, who's really pissed at himself for missing the shot, which I think is a very subtle but good callback to the season 1 finale when Azazel possessed John, and John was way too nice about Dean missing a shot. I think that this is the same thing. And I'm like, Azazel, you did it 2 times in a row.
Come on,
same
buddy.
mistake twice. It takes Dean longer to catch on, obviously, because he doesn't know Samuel the way he knew John, but it is the exact same thing. And like, Dean's like, no, like, I missed the shot, and he's like, take the compliment where you can get it, son. And like, then we find out that Samuel's been like possessed through this whole conversation.
Oh gosh, we don't even know how Samuel would have reacted to that.
Mary runs to John. She's very freaked out by this whole thing, and she says, like, you promised to take me away now. They're running away. Dean's told Samuel and Deanna he's from the future, he's their grandson. Samuel asks for the colt, but Dean resists, and that's when we find out that Samuel's been possessed. And Azazel asks if Dean is one of his psychic kids, but he can like smell Dean. It's very uncomfortable how like close their faces are to each other.
It's like,
Azazel's just an uncomfortable person.
He's a very uncomfortable person. I think Mitch does a great job. Like, they weren't really planning, I don't think, on keeping like Frederick Lane, who was Azazel in like the end few episodes of season 1 and the beginning of season 2. I don't think they planned on him being like, I guess all of season 2 really. Keeping that actor, I think he was supposed to just be like a one-time actor.
That's what I heard too.
But he was really good. And I definitely think that Mitch Pileggi, if he wasn't already familiar with Supernatural, I really feel like he did watch those episodes with Frederick Lane, because I think he does a perfect job at being Azazel.
Oh yeah, agreed.
Oh yeah, Azazel is such an uncomfortable person to watch, and it just makes him like an even better villain.
But I think the way he talks is still the same. I think this is a great performance by Mitch. It's just very good. It's very similar to the like previous portrayals of Azazel. Excellent. And that would have been a big role to fill. Like, I wonder if the casting call was for Samuel or if it was for Azazel. I imagine, like, either way, I feel like it might have just been for Samuel, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if they were casting like demon characters and they were like, and like Mitch Pileggi I don't know if he's ever been asked, so I don't know. The story might be out there. If the story's out there, like if he's talked about what the process was for the audition, like if this was a character he auditioned for, if he knew.
I can't really remember what I said
when he auditioned that it was going to be Samuel and Azazel. But I feel like this is a much more important part of the performance than the Samuel Campbell bit, because like we have no characterization of Samuel up to this point. We had no idea Samuel Campbell existed, that he was a hunter. We have nothing before this episode. So I would really like to know if anybody out there knows what Mitch knew going into the audition process and into the casting process for Supernatural, what the character was going to be. I would love to know. But this is, I mean, it's really honestly a little bit of confirmation of stuff we already knew, but also a little bit of new information. He can tell that like Dean, if Dean isn't a psychic kid, which he can tell that like Dean must have a sibling if Mary is his mom, and he's choosing people to parent the psychic children. And Mary, like Sam, has just become his new favorite, and Sam remains the favorite throughout his whole life until the end of season 2. So that's very interesting that like Mary was such a favorite off the bat. And Yellow Eye says his endgame is a lot bigger than the season 2, season 3 demon army, which is news. Honestly, that is news to us. We had kind of inferred that because nothing really came of the demon army thing, but like also like Azazel was dead and Sam failed to take up the mantle of demoning, and Lilith seems like she's a little bit busy, but like we know that Lilith is doing shit right now with the seals, and you know, she got out during that season 2 Hellgate thing. So
yeah, Azazel never really had the chance, I guess, to reveal the next phase of his plan, or even reveal that there was going to be a next phase.
Yeah, Sam was going to lead the demon army. We didn't know where Sam was leading the demon army, what he was supposed to do with them. Like we have no idea. So to hear that there is a bigger plan in play and that storyline's not done, I feel like does a good job at like more firmly tying the early seasons into this season, going back to that season 1, season 2 plot line, and like being like, this is still important, this is still relevant to the season really well. And Dean tells Azazel that he kills him in the future, and then Azazel's like, yeah, but that's not today, and then he kills both Samuel and Deanna while Dean watches, which is horrible. Deanna puts up like a much bigger fight than Samuel does, because Samuel's obviously possessed, so he can't fight back, but like Deanna goes for a gun and she doesn't get it, and then she tries to run away and she just can't get away. It's awful. John is proposing to Mary when Samuel/Azazel finds them and kills John, and Mary like vows to kill him, and then Azazel's like, it's not just John, actually your parents are both dead too.
It's a great scene.
By the way.
It's horrible. I'm skipping over a lot of this, honestly.
Yeah.
Azazel offers to bring John back to life, but only John, not her parents, so she can retire from hunting in exchange for permission to visit in 10 years, not her soul. As long as he's not interrupted, no one's going to get hurt, but we don't have any real details on what that means.
It's like, hey, Mary, you have a tragic backstory now, and I'm very interested in your baby.
Yay.
Tell her about the baby thing. Like, it's just not even...
No.
I'll come by in 10 years. Don't interrupt me. No one will get hurt.
I'm not sure what I'm not interrupting, but it could be anything.
I feel like Mary should have clued in a little bit more, because Dean had already told her that, you know, something happens in 1983, which is in 10 years. But, you know, it's been a very rough night for Mary. She just learned that the 3 people she loves most in the whole world are all dead. She just watched, like, the love of her life die in front of her. Not a good night. Dean arrives to see Mary making the deal. They're kissing. It's really gross. The demon smokes out. John wakes up. It's now May 2nd, 1973, 10 years to the day before Sam's born, implying a little bit that the demon visits start immediately upon Sam's birth. Like, the day Sam is born is when the demon starts visiting. So that's interesting. It just happens to be May 2nd.
Love that.
Yeah. When John wakes up, he just says Mary, and Matt sounds like Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I thought that was really great. Just the way he says Mary sounds the same. Obviously, he's a little bit like, he's not yelling, but it reminded me of the way that Jeffrey yells for Mary in the pilot, when she's on the ceiling. It's not like the same volume, or like, he's not yelling, but just something about the way that they said it was the same.
Same, like, inflection, I guess?
I think it's the inflection, yeah. So John's waking up. Samuel's body's there. And I'm trying to think what John thinks must have just happened, because Mary and John were in the car. John was proposing. Samuel said, what did I tell you? Grabs Mary by the arm, pulls her out of the car. John follows them. They're kind of all yelling. Next thing John knows, he's waking up on the ground and Samuel is dead. I think the obvious, like, inference is that, like, Samuel knocked John out, and while John was knocked out, Mary somehow killed her dad.
I mean, it's a lot of questions, like, you know.
But then they're gonna go home and find Deanna's body on the same night that Mary showed up at John's house in the middle of the night and was like, let's run away, like, right now.
John was just like, you know, if she's a serial killer, who am I to judge?
Like, I'm gonna start my life with her, and her parents have the picture.
Thinking about how harsh I was on John for not talking about Mary's family, but if John never talks about Mary's family to the kids because he believes that Mary killed her parents, I'm willing to give him a pass on that. That is so dark and not a story for children.
I mean, all I'm thinking about is all the potential for jokes. It's like, I'm pretty sure your mom killed her parents, but I decided not to press the issue in case I was next.
Cass arrives, and when Mary looks back up from John, Cass and Dean are both gone, and Samuel is there just dead, still laying there. Cass and Dean are back in the motel, and Cass tells Dean he couldn't have stopped anything. All roads lead to the same destination. Dean wasn't sent back to stop Mary from dying. It was to find the truth. The angels knew what Azazel did to Sam, but they never knew why he did it. Azazel went to great lengths to make sure that the angels couldn't find out why he did it. The thing that Dean is supposed to stop, Cass keeps telling Dean he has to stop something, has nothing to do with John or Mary. It's Sam that needs to be stopped. Something he's doing with his powers. And Cass gives Dean an address and warns that Sam's headed down a dangerous road, and if Dean doesn't stop Sam, then the angels will. And we end on a to be continued. Not even just a fade to black, it full on says to be continued.
Uh-oh.
We don't find out what Sam's doing. Obviously, we know that what Sam's doing is the psychic thing, but Sam very clearly lied to Dean for the last 2 episodes about any of that. Nick, who would you like to nominate as this week's most valuable person?
Probably Dean.
Dean?
I'll go Dean. He did pretty good this.
Meredith, how about you?
Yeah, I guess I should probably go with Dean. I mean, he was the focus of the episode, and he was the only one who was trying to, I guess, change an outcome.
Oh, this is a rare episode where I would consider breaking the rule that John's never allowed to be MVP. Just because, he allows Dean to know where shit is and what shit's going on with the journal and the cult. It's John, so he can't be the most valuable person. It's not allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm a toss-up between Dean and Cass, to be very honest. I'm gonna give it to Dean. Cass wasn't that helpful. Cass was doing a lot, but he wasn't actually helpful.
Cass in this episode was mainly a time machine.
Yeah, he served a purpose as a time machine, and also to be cryptic and annoying, and I don't like that for Cass.
He was a time machine / messenger.
Just use your words. Use your words. Tell Dean, hey, we need you to go back in time and figure out what Azazel wanted with your parents. Off you go now. To give Dean the hope that he can maybe save his parents just seems so cruel.
We need you to know more what happened. We need to know.
Although because it's Cass, I wonder if he knew how many ways that that phrase could be interpreted and what kind of emotions could come out of it.
I don't know. I don't know how much Cass knows, / how much Cass's superiors know about how to interact with people. Bechdel test. Yeah, there was 2 named women in this episode. We had 3 actually, because we had Ruby at the start.
Yeah, I guess Mary and Deanna probably interacted.
They did. I don't think they talked about anything other than a man, though.
Did they ever talk about Liddy Walsh or anything?
Not really.
Oh, damn it.
I mean, we're stretching pretty thin right here, so.
It was close. It was close.
This is another one of those cases where we have, female characters who are, interesting and can stand on their own, but, again, it doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
The main interactions between Mary and Deanna are about Dean or John. Or both. Or a little bit Samuel. But it's mostly Dean and John. So I'm going to call that a no.
So close.
So close. This week's case of the week was the Yellow-Eyed Demon. Is there anything we need to add about time travel or angels or
I have some quick notes on time travel.
Yeah, time travel. Let's do it.
Go for it.
Yeah, as I said, very quick, but some, food for thought, I guess. All right. So in literature and mythology, we have tons of very old examples of jumping forward in time. A character will travel to another world, usually where fairies or gods or demons live, and when they return, hundreds of years have passed. Jumping backward in time, though, seems to be more of a recent thing. There's some speculation on when the first example appeared in literature, maybe it was 1600s, maybe it was a little after, but it was definitely a thing in the 19th century where we get stories like The Forebears of Calameros by Alexander Veltman, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court by Mark Twain, and of course The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. This is also when methods of time travel were explored and time machines made their way into fiction. Before then, time travel was either vague or the result of a supernatural force. It can still be both those things in modern fiction, but we are pretty into our time machines. Nowadays, we're also a fan of wormholes. Time travel has since become a common trope in fiction, being the focus of stories like Doctor Who, The Time Traveler's Wife, and Back to the Future, as was mentioned in this episode. And it has also made its way into stories where it's not the focus, but it's there, like Star Trek, the MCU, and of course, Supernatural. It's not one of my favorite tropes, but since it's often like really confusing and easily creates plot holes, but I don't know, in my own reading, I have encountered some pretty fun and less popular examples. In the Ruby Red trilogy by Kristen Geyer was really good, and My Fair Godmother by Jeanette Rallison. Ruby Red is about a pair of families who have a person every few generations who can time travel, and the story begins when that power is seemingly passed on to the wrong person. It's a very good series. I highly recommend it. Also because Count Saint Germain is in this one, if you've heard of him. Very cool. And My Fair Godmother is about a girl whose fairy godmother really sucks at her job and ends up sending her to the Middle Ages to fulfill her wish of being a princess, I suppose. It's a hilarious book and more people need to read it. So in conclusion, time travel has taken a few different forms throughout history and can be used in many kinds of stories, though you should be really careful because it's really easy to make everything confusing.
Yeah, plot holes are easy to happen. Also, things like your son convincing you to buy your car so that he can drive your car in the future.
Yeah, that's another thing, because like I don't know, it depends on the story, it depends on the writer, it depends on the plot. But like time travel was either like changing the past and like you make like a new timeline, or you're just doing something that was meant to happen. Like I hate to bring up Harry Potter again, but that's kind of how the time turner works in Harry Potter. It's like they're not really changing anything, they're just kind of doing something that was already meant to happen.
It's like a closed loop of time.
Yeah, but then like in Back to the Future, he's actually changing time.
Gotcha.
Doctor Who has both. Yeah, but anyway, time travel can be used in a few different ways. And again, it depends on the writer. Like the only thing you need to have is a person traveling in time.
Yeah, it's not our first time travel. I mean, this is our first time travel episode in Supernatural, like technically, where it isn't just them observing something from the past. Like Sam in season 2. It's not our last time traveling episode. We're gonna get to do it again in a variety of ways.
And like time loops are kind of like part of that trope, I guess.
Yeah, true.
And we've had a time loop.
Yeah, and the time loop was fun.
It was fun.
Highlight and lowlight. Let's start with Nick.
All right, I guess highlight was Dean with John with the car and getting baby, and then lowlight was Samuel kissing Mary.
Valid, very valid.
Very weird, yeah.
Meredith.
Lowlight was definitely the Sam Mary thing. I mean, Samuel Mary thing. It's weird, and it just makes me so mad that they fought to keep it in.
Like this needs to be in.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't, Eric. It doesn't. The highlight was getting to know Mary and just seeing things from her perspective without things that aren't.
This is such a fun spin on the Mary. Like the only Mary we know up to this point is like a Mary in the white nightgown, like the Mary who
the Mary on the ceiling
was Dean's mom, like the perfect mom, perfect wife, like
until she tragically died.
Just a woman in a photograph who's dead, and like
this is in this episode we get to know a very like a younger Mary who still has like dreams, and she's young, we're not seeing her from anyone's perspective. We're seeing her as she was.
Yeah, Mary is a hope.
She has plans and she has aspirations, and also she's a badass. Like she's not just some stay-at-home mom who dies after being the perfect mom. Like she kicks Dean's ass for a second.
Like there's nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home mom,
but there
is something wrong.
The same person at all.
But yeah, like there is something wrong with that when
she's reduced to that. Like that's all.
Yeah,
she
exactly.
Is.
There we go.
Yeah.
People who are real life stay-at-home moms have lives. They have full lives because they're people. They're not characters.
Exactly. Yeah. Criticizing a character is not the same thing as criticizing a person.
Yeah.
Because a character is made by a writer, and writers have intentions.
Ideally, like a stay-at-home mom is a mom attentive to their children during the day, but also has friends and goals and plans, and she has stuff
she wants to watch or do,
likes
or whatever,
and dislikes and favorite colors and TV, the things that make up a person and a personality. Mary has never had a personality happy up till now. We're 4 seasons into the show that started with her dying and started with her as being like an important thing.
Like we know the bare floor of Mary, so
yeah. Oh, I forgot. We didn't mention how this adds some clarification to what she said to them in Home.
Yes, yeah, that is also thank you for bringing that up. Because I definitely meant to when we recorded Home, one of the 3 times that we recorded Home. Gosh. But yeah, in Home, when Mary sees Sam, specifically Sam, she says she's sorry, and they read that as I'm sorry, like I'm dead. Turns out, I'm sorry I made a demon deal and a demon came and dripped demon blood into your mouth as a baby.
I'm sorry I doomed you.
sorry I saved your dad's life. I mean, to be fair, without her doing that, they would not be born at all.
Well, yeah, but even that, like, even her making a demon deal is, like, adds a lot to her character because she's allowed to screw up. Like, she's allowed to do something that is kind of morally ambiguous. She's allowed to have the agency to do this thing that dooms people. I love that. Yeah,
some people who might be, like, watching the show for the first time, I'm sorry, I'm not going to go into any specifics of anything, so it's not too spoilery for you. But a later season does get more into Mary as a character, and a lot of people dislike Mary. The more personality she attains, the more character development she undergoes. But I really enjoy Mary. A lot of people condemn Mary for making this deal at all, for not just like moving on, finding someone else to settle down with. But I do respect this choice that she makes. It's a tough choice, but there's no way she could have known. Obviously, she knew that it was not going to be something good, but like, who's better equipped to deal with whatever bad thing happens than her? Like, I just don't think she can be held totally responsible for everything that happens, even though it all does stem from this deal. I don't think the deal was necessarily her fault. It wasn't the super clearest deal. It was kind of in the moment. It was to save someone she loves.
Well, again, like, Mary was being taken advantage of, much like the boy and Bella, who were in abusive situations and were desperate to get out of them. She was in a situation she was desperate to get out of.
Or like we skated right over Liddy's deal, just that she was making a deal. But someone that Liddy loved, I think it was one of her parents, had like a terminal illness and was going to die, and she was going to make a deal to save her family member. Like, people who are approached to make this kind of demon deal are people who have very important things to either lose or gain.
Yeah, and like, I'm not saying a demon deal is the best idea, because
none of these are the kind of deal. Like, none of these are like I want to be like chief of surgery, I want to be a successful architect or artist type of deal. I want money. I want like the past. These are all like out of like some sort of necessity to get out of an abusive situation, to save a loved one, a family member. Like, these are a different kind of deal.
Demon deals are bad ideas, but sometimes they're your only option.
Yeah, I mean, what else are you gonna do? Just like let John Winchester be dead? No, she's not gonna do that. She just watched the love of her life die and found out her dad and her mom are dead. Like,
well, narratively, like, he's not just the love of her life, he is also her chance at having a different life.
Yeah, a life that she really desperately wants. And like, yeah, I just don't think, and how could she have possibly foreseen all of the things that deal would lead to? Like,
yeah, it was like Azazel deliberately catches people in vulnerable moments.
Yeah, and she is concerned. Like, she knows what a demon deal is. She's like, it's gonna cost my soul, and the demon's like, no, it's not gonna cost your soul, and as long as you don't interrupt me, no one's gonna get hurt. And like, you know, maybe don't trust the demon at their word, but like, no one's gonna get hurt is the best case scenario when it comes to a demon deal.
Yeah, and like, I'm very glad that Mary, like, as a female character, not just female character, but as like the fridged mom, is given like the agency to make this choice.
Yeah, I actually really respect this choice. I think it's the right thing to do as well. Like, you can argue like, oh, she shouldn't have made the deal, but then like, then what's her life? She's alone in the world with no idea what to do. That just seems sad.
Can't blame her,
especially when we meet a later version of Mary who didn't make the deal, or we hear about a later version of Mary who didn't make the deal, and like, she just lived a very sad life until she died. Like, this is very sad. I don't like it. Anyway, my highlight and low light, obviously my low light, I think is very clear. It's the same as Meredith and Nick. I don't like the kiss. I just think, you know, we vilify the CW quite a lot, but I also think Supernatural vilifies the CW, and they've really gotten out of some of their worst decisions by blaming the network for things that are completely their fault. Like in the season 2 episode where they're at the film studio and like all of the like network guys like comments are real comments that the CW gave to the Supernatural team. They're in retrospect, all of those are very valid comments. Like, why is it so dark? We can't see what's happening. How did the ghost here? Like, they're actually not that. Like, they're made out in the episode to be like very obnoxious, like critiques and questions, but they're really actually not. They're actually super valid. And I think in this case, the network was very valid to question if that was something that they wanted to leave in. And I think it's a little weird that they were so insistent on it.
I think it's more than a little weird. It's gross. It's creepy. It's why did you do this?
It's like why?
We've never really seen that before either. Like we've seen a lot of demon deal kisses happen,
but it wasn't like a mother and daughter. Yeah?
We've never seen a
father and daughter.
We've never seen a familial like person, like someone in the family possessed. Could have possessed John for a hot second. Like
if the kiss has to happen to seal the deal, fine, but you don't have to put it on screen.
Show him in another vessel. Hire another actor.
I would rather, like, if you are insisting on not changing vessels.
So right. We actually didn't need to see it.
Yeah, it's true. Like we didn't need to see it. You could have just implied it. That happens all the time.
The cinematography of that scene is great. It's just overshadowed by the fact that it's like that's her dead dad that she's kissing.
There's an ick factor. And
it's her dad, but it's her dead dad. Like
like he's dead. He got stabbed him. He's not coming back. Yeah.
And I said earlier that like Azazel like makes people uncomfortable, and that's part of what makes him a good villain. But like
this is not what you meant.
There's a line.
You mean like the leaning into like smell Dean's neck to smell if he's a psychic kid, not the like kissing Mary in her dad's body.
Like I think possessing her dad's body was already like I think enough in the story to like put her on edge and like make her more vulnerable. You didn't have to kiss her.
I actually think that also like the kissing to seal a deal thing is sometimes like played off to be funny.
But is it necessary? Yeah.
But I also think it's like very over the top, unnecessary detail. Like I don't often think of the CW as like a CW era like teen show, but it's things like that I'm like, yeah, that's unnecessary. There's actually no reason for the demons to be kissing to seal demon deals. There are other ways to seal deals.
There is one that it'd be a spoiler, but it'd be like in like later seasons where did you have to use the kiss or did you have to use tongue?
Yeah, the Bobby Crowley one's good. Honestly, Crowley's very first scene, he makes a homophobe kiss him.
It's
funny.
Like
yeah, all the like deal negotiations happened with like female vessel, and then like on the day of the actual deal it's Crowley. And that's funny. Showing up to make a 7-year-old homophobe kiss you if they want to stay rich before they die, excellent work. But like even just like Dean and like the original like female crossroad demon, like that's unnecessary to like save Sam. And this is so unnecessary. And like I can't, and maybe I'm forgetting, but I can't think again of another time where like someone has to kiss a family member.
I don't think we ever do, really.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I mean, if they did want to do something different, signing a contract or signing the Devil's Book is pretty time.
Yeah, exactly.
Stood the test of time.
Once upon a time.
It just seems like a kiss. It just seems like a kiss is not like why do we have to do kiss? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't completely hate the concept of like sealing the deal with a kiss, but there are times like this time where it's definitely not what we need.
There could be some options, or it could just not be her dad.
Yeah. Or we don't have to see it.
Yeah. I actually would be so good. I hadn't really thought of that as an option, but yeah, just like Dean arriving after the kiss has happened and not while it's happening.
Because how many times have we seen Supernatural where they imply something happened off screen, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. We actually didn't need to see it.
If you did that though, there would be like this extra moment of suspense where like we weren't sure if she had gone through with it.
Yeah, and then
it was later confirmed that she did.
Yeah,
by John waking up.
Would come from John.
Like that'd be cool. Like that would be cool. Okay, I like that.
I mean, I guess long story short,
we've made this better,
but at least it'd be better off screen, at least though.
Yeah, my highlight. Now it's gonna be hard to think of something that was good, even though I did really like this episode.
Oh, I totally forgot we were still doing highlight and low light.
Me too.
Yeah, we got really. I mean, when three people have the same low light, I think that warrants a discussion about why it's not a good part of the episode, why it's the low point. I really liked the whole like story as a whole of like Mary having this demon deal and like Mary being a hunter. I also, as much as I think Cass is a bit annoying in this particular episode, Cass stands, Misha stands, do not come for me. I love him. I swear I love him.
Misha stands coming under your account.
He just failed to communicate well in this episode, but I actually like that misdirect that's happening of where Dean thinks he's got to save his parents, and it turns out it's not about his parents at all. It's about Sam. And I think that's really great when Sam's not here.
Well, especially because, like, in this particular kind of story, that's usually what you assume. We got to save someone in the past.
Yeah. And, like, this trip to the past is not about saving anyone from the past. It's about saving Sam in the present. And, of course, we know what Sam's up to. We don't know the full extent of what Sam's up to, but we at least have some of what Sam's been up to with Ruby. We know that's where Sam is currently. It is also a little weird. I hadn't really thought about this until right now. It was a very short conversation in the motel initially, like when Cass first showed up, like Dean wakes up and Cass is on the bed, and that is distracting. Dean doesn't ask where Sam is in that scene.
Oh.
Which is very out of character. He's worried about it later. He's like, Sam's going to be worried because I was asleep in the motel and now I'm here and I don't know how long I'm here. I don't know where I've been. But in the moment when he wakes up and Cass is in the motel room, he does not ask Cass where Sam is. He doesn't really seem to be all that concerned about it. It seems like the middle of the night.
Yeah, when Dean is faced with like a strange person he doesn't fully trust, I feel like his first instinct would be to look for Sam.
Yeah, where is Sam? And just like his first thing when he wakes up is like, make sure Sam is here. But I guess Cass being on the bed was distracting because he didn't ask. He didn't think to ask until much later. Call CPS. I feel like we've adequately covered the van minimum, the permanent housing. I feel like we've covered all of that. Firing squad. I feel like we're pretty good. Big up to the postal people of the 70s who were doing important work back in the day in the hunting process before the internet existed. Mental health check. I'm not a psychologist, based purely on my own opinions. Please remember if you're struggling with anything at all, please reach out for help.
So Mary's not okay.
Mary's not okay. Dean was pretty not okay during his confrontations with Azazel. But I mean, at the end of the day, Dean has the safety net of in the future I kill Azazel. And he was feeling pretty good about his chances of doing it again in this timeline, honestly. He was like, oh, I get to do it 30 years early? Yeah. I'll do it.
I'm gonna have so much fun when I do it.
Did it once, I'll do it again. It won't even take me 3 years.
Because I know how to do it this time.
Yeah, he's like, this time I know where the gun is. I know where the demon's gonna be. I know I can do it. I know it's gonna work too. Like, also, I don't feel like they knew that the gun worked when they killed Azazel. Had they used it before? Like, and actually successfully killed someone? I guess some of the lower level demons.
That vampire dude.
Vampire dude. But like
Luther.
the demon would have been way above vampire on the scale of big bad things.
Yeah.
Because the yellow-eyed demon does appear to be like not your average demon. So, yeah, I mean, he knows the gun will work. It will kill the demon. I don't know what else to say about mental health, honestly. I just don't know what to say about it. Let's keep going.
Everyone's lives suck. Let's go.
Soul transactions. We had get rid of abusive alcoholic father.
Yep.
Hero family member. Bring someone back to life.
Bring one of 3 dead family members back to life.
Awesome.
You think that would have changed if Mary had like triplets?
What I was just thinking is like, what if she tried to like negotiate for one of her parents instead of John? And I was like, no, because Azazel doesn't want her to have a family member back or have a person that she loves back. But Azazel wants her John to have a kid. Azazel really just killed John and just like hope Mary would agree to a demon deal. Like, I actually don't think John was really in any danger despite the fact that he was fully dead. I do think Azazel would have brought it back either way. Azazel had plans. He's all about that optimal breeding, that master race, which is just such an icky word. I can't believe that they let.
Because like they believed that Sam was the chosen one.
I get that Azazel's a demon, but no one should be allowed to use the phrase master race.
Yeah, I feel like they could use it because he was a villain. Like a villain we're not supposed to sympathize with in any way.
So icky.
It's just exactly.
And it's like so icky given how many of the writers and stuff are like Jewish and like probably had family members who were victims of the Holocaust. It's just icky.
I mean, yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
He's a bad guy.
I know. I just wish he hadn't said it.
Fair enough.
I just wish that wasn't a phrase I heard today, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I wish that I had lived my life today and not heard that phrase. So sorry for saying it like 3 times, everybody else.
We could have heard a different phrase, yeah?
Also, this whole thing has just made me wonder, like, what if someone who made one of these deals had twins? Like, how do you think, like...
Oh, I mean,
that would
Andy
be interesting.
and Ansem.
Oh, right. I forgot about them. Hey, oh my gosh. What if they're
two for
triplets?
one, 2-for-1 demon special.
Yeah, it's like they're both okay. I forgot about them. Yeah, they were
special psychic children special.
Ansem was twisted.
Yeah.
What if they were triplets? Do you think one of them would be evil, or like two of them, or all three of them?
Do you think the third one would be really boring? Like Andy's really cool and Ansem's really evil, and the third one's just like there.
Hi, I'm Steve.
The third one went to college. He got
the third one has the personality of like wet cardboard.
He's an accounting guy. He just does your taxes for free. Yeah.
His superpower is just being able to focus on boring books.
That's my headcanon. That's my exact headcanon. One twin's mostly good and one twin's mostly bad, but like it could switch. It's really like a nature nurture thing. And then the third twin is just like no personality. That's
like a robot.
Exchange for
all right. Well,
exchange for visitation in 10 years time.
Exchange for feeding your infant my blood.
I'm gonna call it exchange for visitation in 10 years time, and then in brackets corrupting your child.
I like that.
Well, that's what I do to my nieces and nephews.
Not in the feed them demon blood kind of way.
You don't know me.
No.
Okay, and then copy and paste that into the spreadsheet.
No, we're not feeding anybody demon blood, so.
Maybe you're not.
Where is that?
Fair enough. Not scared at all.
One of my coworkers has had like 3 interactions with me, and on the third one, he decided I was a serial killer.
That seems like a bit of a snap judgment, but you gotta trust your gut when it comes to is this person a serial killer?
I thought it was pretty funny and slightly accurate.
And then someone just play into it like, yep, the serial killer.
Sam's traumatic brain injury. It's 0 because the only thing we saw Sam do was walk out of a door and then get into a car, and he did not hit his head doing either of those things. Good job, bud.
It's really an accomplishment considering how tall he is.
I mean, hitting your head on the top of the car door while you get into the car is a thing that I've done so many times. It hurts so badly.
Oh gosh, I know.
One time with Cass. I'm going to give Dean 3 separate points for this, and Sam none. Cass technically it was 4. Should we count this as 4?
Sure.
Why not?
Like there's the first motel scene and the last motel scene, and then when Dean's following John, and when they're in the car together. That's 4. That's 4 scenes together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's 4-0. Sam's time is coming. Sam and Cass just haven't met yet, so they have had no opportunity to
I don't
interact.
even remember when they meet.
I want to say it's 407.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, yeah, that sounds
It
right.
is 407. It's the Halloween episode. Okay, Cass's powers. What did Cass do in this episode? Cass freaking time traveled them.
That is not easy.
Time travel of himself and a human back 20-something years.
Like, okay, whenever I'm writing, like, time travel is one of those powers that I'm just so hesitant to give to people.
It's a big power. It's a big one. It's not one you just do.
There's so many implications, and like, wait, how and when do you use this? And how and when, like, why don't you use this? And yeah, it's a fun one.
See, our next segment is Eyes Off the Hostages. I don't have anything for that. I don't think we had any real hostage situations. No one got tied to a chair or anything. Name that episode. Anybody have any suggestions for the episode title?
The one where we find out Mary's a hunter.
Very good.
Let's make that pretty later.
Nick, any suggestions?
I guess the one where we get baby. I don't think I'm sure.
Baby? Those are both good. I'm trying to think. I didn't write anything down because I literally just finished watching before we started recording.
It's like, I want to be like the one with the creepy kiss, but I think we all want to forget the creepy kiss.
Yeah, we want.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that we can isolate that to an episode. Like, I don't think there's any kisses that are quite this creepy, but there are definitely other kisses that should not be happening.
Yeah.
There are definitely lots of times where Sam and Dean get kissed against their will, and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like just a few episodes ago in the season 3 finale, when Lilith made out with Sam right before murdering his brother. That was very uncomfortable.
It's like the one where we get very uncomfy.
Yeah, love looking at sexual harassment / assault. That's my favorite thing.
That's my favorite. That's my jam, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very uncomfortable. I'm gonna say the one where we meet the Campbells.
I like that.
Ooh, that's a good one. Nice, succinct.
Line of the week. Nick, do you have a line of the week?
I like the Dean cast is like, so what? God's my co-pilot.
Yeah,
I like that one.
Meredith?
I liked listening to Mary talk about how she didn't want her kids to be hunters. It was very sad, but
That was pretty
it was
good.
a lot was revealed about her in that moment.
I didn't write anything down, which is not my usual style.
Oh my gosh, KJ.
I know. I really laughed.
Who is this, KJ?
I didn't want to have a shower because I never want to have a shower. Showering is very hard for me. And I needed a shower this morning, so I put off doing that, and then eating and watching the episode in the remaining time was not actually enough time. But I still had to do both those things. So it was a rush job. Oh, the first quote is the mom's a babe. I'm going to hell again.
As hilarious as that was, it was also kind of creepy.
Not my line of the week. I love Cass said destiny can't be changed, Dean. All roads lead to the same destination. When there is time travel, I do like when there's fixed points in time where like no matter how many times you try to change it, you can't.
You would love Doctor Who.
Well, because it was brought up like a time travel. Like I was listening to way back home from Chicago. It's like listening to Jamie and Beth. It's like
love Jamie and Beth.
if it would not have changed, like if Dean would not have changed it, something else would have made him get the car anyways.
Yeah, I think that's also how I have to think about it, because it undoes that kind of stuff where like the car is a fixed thing and like all these things would have happened anyway. Dean's just here this time, so his little bits of it.
Somebody else would have made the car. Like everything had to happen for a reason, like he says.
Yeah. Like if this wasn't how Mary and Yellow Eyes, it probably would have been after Liddy made the deal. You know, like something would have happened to Liddy or something, and like she would have come across the demon that way. Like it just would have happened either way. It's just that it happens this way because Dean's here this time.
I had to listen to that. That was just like something to thinking about when Jamie and Beth were talking about that. It's like time travel gets very messy, yeah.
But I just think one of the best things I watched last year was the Marvel What If series. That was all like the AU Marvel stuff. And one of the episodes, Doctor Strange goes on like a villain arc. Because his like lady doctor girlfriend is in the car with him on the night of the accident and she dies, and he like tries every single thing in his power to like take a different road, to drive differently, to not go he tries like hundreds and hundreds of times, and no matter what he does, she dies every single time.
Okay, I am not caught up on a lot of TV shows, but you've just convinced me to watch this show.
I really liked it. It's definitely weird, and at first I thought like none of the episodes like mattered to each other, but in like the last like couple, they all matter, so you do have to watch all of them, even if you're not vibing with one of them. I really liked the zombie one though. I have to say the zombie one is one of my favorite things that exists.
I really enjoy like alternate universes where a protagonist is a villain. Like I've done it with my own characters and it's just oddly satisfying.
Yeah, the zombie one is like one of my favorite things that's ever happened in the MCU. I definitely recommend watching it. Meredith, please give me updates. I really want to talk about it, but I'm not going to talk about it right now.
What's it called
so
again?
You can just enjoy it. It's called What If.
What If?
Or like Marvel's What If or whatever, or something like that.
Gotcha.
I've been pretty bad at watching TV shows lately, but when and if I get to
it's not. They're pretty short episodes, and there's only like I think maybe 6 or possibly 8 of them. But yeah, that is it for this week. Meredith, where can people find you if they want to find you?
Back in time at Shades of Dayanira on Tumblr, Instagram, and TikTok sometimes. And if you go there, you'll see lots of really cool drawings for the fantasy series I'm writing.
Incredible.
Now that I've mentioned like alternate villain arcs, I might try to upload some of the drawings I did with that.
Nick, where can people find you?
Well, tonight I'll be sleeping, but people can find me at NickLink7 on Instagram and TikTok. So
incredible, love that.
sleep is important, yeah.
Yeah, sleep is important.
Yes.
Please go do that as soon as we're done.
We are praying for you.
It's like 4:30. So maybe not like the minute we're done. It is like 4:30 in the afternoon.
Maybe like in 4 hours, yeah.
Yeah, like go to bed early tonight.
Very early, like maybe right now.
Next week, Meredith and I are going to be doing an episode with Kate and Bay, and we're covering season 4, episode 4, Metamorphosis.
Yep.
Yes. I have already started my research.
Incredible. I don't remember what the villain is at all, so.
Rougarou,
right. I feel like you've reminded me like 4 times, and every single time I just forget, and then you have to remind me again.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed that episode. There's a lot to enjoy. I'll say more obviously next week.
Good times. I've been KJ, and this has been Supernatural Opinions. If you enjoyed our show, the best thing you can do is subscribe on your podcast app of choice and tell a friend. Check out our link tree in the episode description for all of our social media and any other Supernatural-related projects we might be working on. Send us an email. Our address is supernaturalopinionspodcast@gmail.com, or reach out directly at KJ, at @KJ on all platforms. Thank you to Joe Veretta for our theme song, and our logo was created by Faith Ebert of faithanddesigns.ca. The episode was recorded, edited, and produced by me, Ed and KJ. If you want to hear more from me, you can check out my other podcast, Series of Opinions. And last but not least, a huge thank you to all of our guests.
Some things in this world are supernatural. What we need is a savior.